I should have known better than to surprise my husband at work. The universe has a way of rewarding good intentions with cruel revelations, and that Thursday afternoon was about to become Exhibit A. My name is Callie, and until 2:47 p.m. that day, I was riding the highest wave of my career. The presentation I'd given that morning had the board practically salivating. Even Dominic, my usually stoic boss, had cracked a smile when I wrapped up the quarterly projections. "Outstanding work," he'd said, actually reaching out to shake my hand. "Keep this trajectory, and that executive position is yours." I'd spent 6 years climbing the corporate ladder at Matthews and Reed, and finally, the view from the top was within reach. The promotion would mean everything: validation, security, proof that I'd transcended my mess of a childhood. I straightened my blazer, smoothed my skirt, and balanced 2 takeout containers from Rick's favorite Thai place as I navigated the elevator to the sales floor. My husband had been stressed lately, and I thought surprising him with lunch might help. That's what good wives do, right? "Hey, is Rick in?" I asked Tommy from accounting, who was passing by with his usual armload of files. "Think so. Saw him heading that way with some balloons earlier." Balloons? My birthday wasn't for months. I rounded the corner to Rick's office, noticing the blinds were drawn. Strange for him. He usually kept them open. My hand was on the doorknob when I heard laughter from inside. Female laughter. Familiar female laughter. I should have knocked. Should have turned around. Should have done anything except what I did next. The door swung open. My sister Joanna was perched on Rick's desk, her legs crossed at the ankles, champagne flute in hand. Silver and gold balloons bobbed against the ceiling. The room smelled like her signature perfume, the one I'd bought her last Christmas when I was stupid enough to believe in second chances. "You're just in time for the party," Joanna said, her red lips curving into that smile I knew too well. The same smile she'd worn when she'd accidentally spilled wine on my prom dress, when she'd forgotten to give me my college acceptance letter for 3 days. "What's going on?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. The takeout containers were growing heavy in my hands. "Oh, just a little celebration." Joanna twirled a strand of her perfectly highlighted hair. "Rick and I were just discussing some exciting developments." "Where's Rick?" "Bathroom. He'll be thrilled you're here." "Won't this be cozy?" "Just like old times." My chest tightened. Old times. Like when she'd borrowed my first boyfriend, or when she'd misplaced my scholarship application. "Joanna, what are you—" The office door swung open again. Dominic stood there, his expression darkening as he took in the scene. The balloons, the champagne, my sister looking like she owned the place. "Callie, care to explain why there's an unauthorized person in a restricted area? With alcohol?" His voice had that dangerous edge I'd never heard directed at me before. "And why there are confidential files spread across that desk?" I turned back to the desk. Sure enough, behind Joanna's designer boots were stacks of papers marked with red confidential stamps. "I can explain," I started, but Joanna cut in. "Oh, don't worry about that. I'm practically family." She waved her champagne glass. "And family shares everything, don't they, sis?" The sound of footsteps made us all turn. Rick appeared in the doorway, his face flushing as he took in the tableau before him. But it wasn't surprise I saw in his eyes. It was guilt. "Honey," he said, not meeting my gaze. "I can explain." The Thai food slipped from my hands, containers hitting the carpet with a dull thud. Pad Thai spilled across the floor like evidence at a crime scene. Dominic's voice cut through the silence. "Everyone, conference room, now." As we filed out, Joanna brushed past me, whispering, "Careful, sis. Wouldn't want anything to jeopardize that big promotion of yours." I'd spent years rebuilding my life, crafting the perfect career, the perfect marriage, even cautiously letting my wild child sister back in. But standing there, watching sauce seep into the carpet, I realized I'd built my house of cards on quicksand. And Joanna was holding the match, The conference room felt like a courtroom, with Dominic as judge, jury, and potential executioner of my career. I sat straight-backed in my chair, hands folded, while Joanna lounged beside me like this was happy hour. "This is completely unacceptable," Dominic began, pacing behind his chair. "Unauthorized access to confidential materials, alcohol on premises, and—" he gestured at the balloons visible through the glass walls. "Whatever that circus is supposed to be." "It's just a little celebration," Joanna purred. "For Rick's promotion." My head snapped up. "What promotion?" "Oh." Joanna's eyes widened with fake innocence. "Did he not tell you? He's been offered a position at Barrett Industries, their sales division." She leaned forward, voice dripping honey. "We've been working on the details for weeks." "Barrett Industries, our biggest competitor." The room tilted slightly. I forced myself to breathe, to focus on the potted plant in the corner, anything to keep my composure. A memory flashed. Age 12, finding my diary pages scattered across the school cafeteria, Joanna standing nearby with that same innocent expression. "Rick isn't here to defend himself," I said carefully, "and my sister isn't an employee." "Actually," Joanna interrupted, pulling out a business card, "I am. Started last week in consulting. Heidi Ray, at your service." Dominic snatched the card, his face darkening. "This wasn't approved through proper channels." "All my paperwork's in order," Joanna said. "Human Resources can confirm." The door opened and Rick finally joined us, his collar askew. He sat across from me, not beside me. That small detail felt like a knife twist. "Rick," Dominic's voice was ice. "Want to explain why confidential company documents were accessible to a new consultant?" Rick glanced at Joanna, then me. "I was just showing Heidi some basic sales reports." "Basic?" I couldn't hold back. "Those were marked confidential. They included our entire Q4 strategy." "Don't be dramatic, sis," Joanna sighed. "Rick and I were just discussing potential synergies. You know how these things go. Sometimes business relationships just click." She smiled at Rick, who shifted uncomfortably. The subtext wasn't subtle. I thought of all the late nights Rick had been working, the sudden business trips, the new cologne. "This is grounds for immediate termination," Dominic stated. "For both of you." "Both?" I stood up so fast my chair rolled backward. "I had nothing to do with this." "It's your sister, Callie. Your husband. Your department's confidential information. The board won't see this as a coincidence." "The board doesn't need to know," Joanna suggested smoothly. "We're all adults here. Perhaps we could discuss this privately, Dominic?" My hands shook as another memory surfaced. Dad passed out on the couch, Joanna rifling through his wallet, 14-year-old me begging her to stop. "He'll lose his job," I'd pleaded. "We'll lose everything." "Sometimes things need to break before they can be fixed," she'd replied, pocketing the cash. Now, 20 years later, nothing had changed. She was still breaking things, still smiling about it. "Callie," Rick finally spoke directly to me, "I didn't mean for this to happen. Things just evolved." "Evolved?" My voice cracked. "Like your wedding vows evolved? Or just your ethics?" "Don't be bitter," Joanna chided. "It doesn't suit you. Besides, you were always so busy with work, so focused on your precious promotion. Rick needed someone who could match his passion." Dominic slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. Security will escort you both out. HR will contact you about next steps." He pointed at Rick and Joanna. "Leave your badges at reception." As they stood to leave, Joanna paused by my chair. "Remember when we were kids, and you always got the gold stars, the perfect grades, Dad's approval? Funny how things balance out eventually." I watched them walk out together, Rick's hand hovering near the small of her back, the same way he used to guide me through doors. "Callie," Dominic said quietly, "the board meeting is in an hour. They'll want answers." I nodded. my mind already racing ahead, calculating moves and countermoves. Joanna thought she was playing chess, but she'd forgotten one thing. I'd learned to play during all those nights she was out partying, and I played to win. The next morning, I arrived at work before sunrise, my heels clicking through empty hallways. My assistant Paige was already at her desk, 2 coffee cups waiting. "You're a lifesaver," I said, taking a long sip. "Security logs from the past month." She slid a folder across her desk. "And Rick's system access records." I'd worked with Paige for 3 years. She noticed everything, said little, and knew exactly what I needed before I asked. Right now, I needed ammunition. "Look at this," she pointed to a highlighted line. "Rick's login was used to access your personal drive at 2 a.m. last Tuesday, but he was supposedly in Denver." "He was," I confirmed. "At least, that's what he told me." "There's more." Paige pulled up an email chain. Someone's been forwarding internal documents to an outside address. Heavily encrypted, but our IT guy Nicholas might be able to trace it. A knock on my office door made us both jump. Dominic entered, looking grim. "Barrett Industries just announced a new product line," he said without preamble. "Remarkably similar to our Q4 launch plans." My stomach dropped. "The files from Rick's office. The board is breathing down my neck. We need to contain this leak, Callie. Fast." "I'm already on it." I gestured to the security logs. "Give me 48 hours. He nodded slowly. "You have 24. And Callie? If this traces back to your login credentials, the threat hung in the air." I didn't need him to finish. After he left, I called Nicholas from IT. He arrived looking nervous, fidgeting with his glasses. "I need to know everything about a new consultant named Heidi Ray," I said, "and I need to know who helped set up her system access." Nicholas paled. She said she had authorization." "From whom?" "Your husband." "Ex-husband?" "Sorry, I heard about—" Anyway, he said it was approved. She was very convincing. Brought cookies to IT every Friday. Of course she did. Joanna always knew how to work people. Cookies, compliments, and calculated destruction. "Nicholas," I leaned forward, "I need your help making this right." He glanced at the door. "She'll know it was me." "She already played you. Why protect her?" He sighed, then pulled out his tablet. "There's something you should see." Security footage showed Joanna entering the building at odd hours, always when Rick was working late. But she wasn't always heading to Rick's office. Sometimes she went to the server room. "The cookies were a distraction," Nicholas admitted. "She was mapping our network infrastructure." My phone buzzed. A text from Rick. "We need to talk. Dinner tonight?" "Don't," Paige warned, reading over my shoulder. "It's a trap." "I know," I typed back. "Can't tonight. Big presentation tomorrow." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. "Your choice. Don't blame me for what happens next." I was about to respond when Paige grabbed my arm. "Look." On my computer screen, files were disappearing from my personal drive. Dozens of them, including my presentation for tomorrow. "Someone's deleting everything," Nicholas said, fingers flying over his keyboard. "Using Rick's login." "Can you stop it?" "I'm trying to—" He trailed off as my screen went black. When it came back on, a single message appeared. "Missing something, sis? XOXO." My phone buzzed again. This time, it was Dominic. "My office. Now." I grabbed my tablet and headed for the door, but Paige caught my arm. "Wait," she whispered. "There's something else you need to know." "About Heidi Ray?" "She didn't just show up here. She applied to our company 3 weeks ago. And guess who wrote her recommendation letter?" "Rick?" "No." Paige's eyes were wide. "Your mother." The world tilted sideways. Our mother had disappeared 15 years ago, leaving nothing but debts and damage. Or at least, that's what we'd believed. "That's impossible," I managed. The letter was dated last month. Either someone's using your mother's identity, or she's been in contact with Joanna this whole time, I finished. The pieces were falling into place, forming a picture I didn't want to see. This wasn't just about Rick, or corporate espionage, or even sibling rivalry. This was about something much older, much deeper. And I had 24 hours to unravel it before I lost everything. I spent the next 4 hours in a windowless conference room with Nicholas, Paige, and enough coffee to fuel a small army. Empty paper cups littered the table while we traced Joanna's digital footprints. Got something, Nicholas announced, turning his laptop around. Every file she accessed was copied to an external drive first, then uploaded to a cloud server registered to Barrett Industries, I finished. Of course. But here's the weird part, he continued. The uploads happened from different IP addresses, like she was bouncing around the city. Coffee shops, Paige said. Public Wi-Fi. Smart. I rubbed my temples. Show me the files she took. Nicholas pulled up a list. Product launches, market research, client databases, everything a competitor would salivate over. But something wasn't adding up. Wait, I said, pointing at the screen. Go back. That folder. Project Phoenix, it's empty. Because it doesn't exist, Paige replied. Yet. A plan started forming. Can we create it? Make it look like our biggest project ever? Nicholas adjusted his glasses. You want to plant fake files? Better. I grabbed a marker and went to the whiteboard. We're going to create the most tempting target imaginable. Something so huge, so confidential, they can't resist stealing it. A trap, Paige smiled slowly. But we need to make it believable. For the next hour, we crafted Project Phoenix, a fictional billion-dollar merger that would revolutionize the industry. We created spreadsheets, presentations, and email threads, all marked strictly confidential. Now, I said, we make it accessible only through Rick's login, the one Joanna's been using. Nicholas typed rapidly. Done. But what if... The door swung open. Dominic stood there, looking thunderous. Barrett just announced a strategic partnership, he said, using our client list. I know. I gestured to our work. But we're about to turn this around. He studied the whiteboard, eyes narrowing. Project Phoenix? Never heard of it. Exactly. I explained our plan. With each detail, his expression shifted from anger to interest. It's risky, he said finally. If they realize it's fake, they won't have time. The moment they try to announce it, we expose them for corporate espionage, he finished, using evidence we can trace directly to the source. To Joanna, I corrected. And Rick. Dominic nodded slowly. Do it. But Callie? Make it bulletproof. After he left, we spent another hour planting digital breadcrumbs. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Joanna. Drinks tonight? For old times' sake. I showed Paige. She's getting cocky. Or nervous, Paige countered. The fake files are up. Maybe she's already seen them. Good. I texted back. Sure. The usual place. 7 p.m. Nicholas looked worried. Be careful. She's dangerous. So am I replied, gathering my things. Paige, monitor the files. Nicholas, be ready to trace any access. At 6:55 p.m., I walked into our old favorite bar. Joanna was already there, wearing a dress I recognized from my own closet. Love the dress, I said, sliding onto a bar stool. Looks familiar. Rick brought some things over, she shrugged. He's so thoughtful. Is that what you call it? She stirred her martini. Don't be bitter, sis. It's not like you didn't see this coming. You were always so busy climbing the corporate ladder. Speaking of corporate, I took a sip of wine. How's Barrett treating you? Her hand froze mid-stir. What? Oh, sorry. I meant consulting. At our company. My mistake. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You know, I saw something interesting today. About a Project Phoenix? Did you? I kept my voice neutral. Sounds important. Very. She leaned closer. Important enough to make someone's career, or break it. My phone buzzed. A text from Paige. Files accessed. Uploading now. I smiled at my sister. You know what's funny about phoenixes, Joanna? They're really good at rising from ashes. Is that a threat? No. I stood up, dropping cash on the bar. It's a promise. As I walked out, I heard her call after me. You can't win this, Callie. But I already had. She just didn't know it yet. My phone buzzed again. Nicholas this time. Upload complete. Trace to Barrett's servers. Want me to trigger the trap? Not yet, I texted back. Let's give them just enough rope to hang themselves. The next morning, Rick was waiting outside my house. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing yesterday's clothes. For a moment, I remembered how we used to be, before ambition and betrayal poisoned everything. We need to talk, he said, as I approached my car. About what? Your new job at Barrett? Or how you gave my sister access to confidential files? It's not what you think. Really? I crossed my arms. Because I think you're helping my sister destroy everything I've built. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. Joanna. She's intense, persuasive. She showed up at my office one day, talking about how you were always working, how you never made time for family. And that justified sleeping with her? No, but... He stepped closer. She knew things, Callie. About your mother. My heart stuttered. What things? She's alive. Living in Arizona. Joanna's been in contact with her for years. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. All those years of wondering, searching, grieving. And Joanna knew. Why are you telling me this now? Because I saw the Phoenix files. His voice dropped. That merger would destroy Barrett. Joanna's already sent everything to them. I kept my face neutral. And you're worried about your new job? I'm worried about you. Joanna, she's not stable. When she saw those files, something changed. She started talking about revenge, about making you pay for always being the perfect one. My smartwatch was recording everything. I needed him to keep talking. Pay how? She's planning to expose some old scandal about your mother. Something that would ruin your reputation at the company. She has documents, photos. And you're helping her? He looked away. I was. But this is too far. You didn't deserve... Save it. I held up my hand. You didn't care what I deserved when you were sneaking around with my sister. I made a mistake. No, Rick. You made a choice. Several choices, actually. And now you're trying to save yourself because you realize Joanna's crazy train is headed for a cliff. As if on cue, a car screeched into my driveway. Joanna emerged, her designer outfit a stark contrast to her wild eyes. Having a cozy chat? She called out. Sharing secrets? Just clearing the air, I replied calmly. Really? She stalked toward us. Like how you cleared the air when you told Daddy I stole his credit cards? Or when you got me kicked out of college? That's not what happened. It's exactly what happened, she screamed. You were always the good one, the successful one, the one who could do no wrong, while I was the screw-up, the wild child, the cautionary tale. Joanna, Rick started, but she cut him off. Shut up! You're just as pathetic as she is. Did you tell her how easy it was to seduce you? How you spilled company secrets after 2 drinks and a smile? My watch was still recording. Perfect. Is that why Mom left? I asked quietly. Because I was the good one? Joanna laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. Mom left because she couldn't stand either of us. But at least she kept in touch with me. Sent me money, helped me plan this whole thing. She knew you needed to be knocked down a few pegs. By stealing corporate secrets? By taking everything you love. Your job, your husband, your reputation. She pulled out her phone. And once Barrett announces the Phoenix merger, there is no merger, I interrupted. Those files were fake. And you just admitted to corporate espionage. The color drained from her face. You're lying. Check your phone. Barrett probably just realized they announced a merger that doesn't exist, with documentation that proves exactly how they got the information. Rick stepped back. Oh, God. You recorded this, Joanna whispered. You set me up. No, sister dear. You set yourself up. I just provided the stage. Her phone started ringing. Then Rick's. Then mine. Dominic's name flashing on the screen. You should probably answer that, I told them. Sounds important. As I got into my car, Joanna's scream of rage followed me down the street. But all I could think about was our mother, hiding in Arizona, playing both sides of a game I didn't even know we were playing. Well, game on. The Matthews and Reed lobby was chaos when I arrived. Security guards escorted Rick and Joanna out while reporters clustered outside, snapping photos through the glass doors. Barrett Industries' attempted theft of Project Phoenix was already making headlines. Paige met me at the elevator. Dominic's waiting in the conference room, with legal. How bad is it? Bad for them. She handed me a tablet. Barrett's stock is tanking. Their CEO just resigned. The conference room was packed with suits and serious faces. Dominic stood at the head of the table, looking grimly satisfied. Callie, he gestured to an empty chair. Your timing was perfect. Unlike Barrett's, someone quipped, earning nervous laughter. A woman in a sharp blazer, Sandra from legal, spread documents across the table. Barrett's legal team is scrambling. They're claiming they were deceived by Rick and Joanna, trying to distance themselves from the scandal. Of course they are, I said, but we have the evidence. More than you know. Nicholas appeared in the doorway, laptop in hand. Remember those IP addresses? Each upload created a digital trail. Barrett can't claim they didn't know where the information came from. Dominic nodded. Their board is meeting now. Damage control. What about Rick and Joanna? I asked. Sandra smiled thinly. Currently being interviewed by federal agents about corporate espionage charges. Your recording was very helpful. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won? Ask Mom about the summer of '99. Love, Joe. I ignored it. Another manipulation, another game. There's something else, Dominic said. He slid a folder across the table. The board met this morning. About your promotion. My stomach dropped. After everything, would they still blame me for the breach? I opened the folder. Inside wasn't just promotion paperwork. There were stock certificates, ownership shares. We need someone who can spot threats before they happen, Dominic explained. Someone who understands both defense and strategy. The board voted unanimously. Executive Vice President, I read aloud. And partner? You earned it, he said, though perhaps not in the way we expected. The room erupted in congratulations. Paige squeezed my shoulder. Nicholas gave an awkward thumbs up. Then my phone buzzed again. A news alert. Barrett Industries faces federal investigation. Former employee Rick Webb names. Looks like your ex-husband is singing like a bird, Sandra observed. He always did look out for himself first, I said. The day passed in a blur of meetings, statements, and handshakes. By evening, only Dominic remained in the conference room with me. Your sister, he said carefully. She mentioned your mother was involved. Apparently she's been pulling strings from Arizona. He leaned back. Want to know something interesting? Your mother's recommendation letter for Heidi Ray. We traced the IP address. It wasn't from Arizona. My head snapped up. What? It came from an internet cafe 3 blocks from here. The same one Joanna used to upload files. She forged it? The signature matched your mother's old HR paperwork perfectly. Too perfectly. He stood up, almost like someone had access to our personnel archives. Understanding dawned. Joanna never talked to our mother, did she? I don't think your mother's in Arizona, Callie. I don't think she's anywhere. He headed for the door. then paused. Some people create elaborate lies to hide simple truths. Your sister seems to excel at that. After he left, I sat in the darkening conference room, staring at the city lights below. My phone buzzed one last time. Another unknown number. Congratulations on the promotion, baby girl. Wish I could have been there. Mom. I deleted it without replying. The number would be untraceable, just like all of Joanna's other fake breadcrumbs. My sister had built her revenge on a foundation of lies, using our mother's ghost as both weapon and shield. But she'd forgotten something crucial. Ghosts can't testify in court. I gathered my things, including the partner paperwork. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Rebuilding trust, strengthening security, moving forward. But tonight? Tonight I'd celebrate not just survival, but victory. And somewhere in a holding cell, Joanna would learn what I'd known since childhood. The thing about playing with fire is that sometimes you're the one who gets burned. 1 week later, I hosted a celebration at the Grand Hotel's rooftop bar. The city sparkled below as colleagues and friends mingled, champagne flowing freely. My new executive office nameplate sat as a centerpiece, surrounded by flowers. To our newest partner, Dominic raised his glass, and to corporate security upgrades, everyone laughed. Nicholas, now promoted to head of IT security, actually blushed. Speech, someone called out. I stepped forward, glass in hand, when the elevator dinged. The doors opened, and Joanna stumbled out. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her makeup smeared. She'd clearly talked her way past security. "Don't stop the party on my account," she slurred. "Though I should be the guest of honor, shouldn't I?" I made all this possible. Paige moved toward the house phone, but I shook my head. Let her talk. "You know what's funny?" Joanna continued, grabbing a champagne flute from a passing waiter. "All these years, I thought Mom loved you best. The perfect daughter. But she didn't love either of us, did she, Callie?" "Security's on their way," Nicholas whispered. "She's not in Arizona, is she?" Joanna's voice rose. "She's not anywhere. Because she's dead. Has been for years. But you knew that, didn't you?" The room fell silent. Even the city seemed to hold its breath. "I found her death certificate," Joanna continued, "while I was digging through company records. Died in a motel room. Overdose. And you..." She pointed an accusing finger. "You knew. You identified the body." "Yes," I said quietly. "I did." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Would it have mattered? You were 19 in Europe, refusing to answer my calls. Dad was gone. I handled it alone, like I handled everything else. You had no right." "I had every right," my voice cracked. "I spent years cleaning up her messes, your messes, covering for both of you. And when she died, I made sure her debts were paid, her affairs settled. I protected you from the truth because that's what I always did." "Protected me?" She laughed bitterly. "You controlled me, just like you tried to control her. No wonder she ran away." "Mom didn't run away, Joanna. She gave up. There's a difference." Security finally arrived. 2 guards in dark suits approaching cautiously. "You want to know the real reason I didn't tell you?" I continued. "Because you're just like her. The lies, the manipulation, using people until they break. I thought if you believed she was out there somewhere, maybe you'd try to be better, to earn her approval." "You self-righteous bitch," Joanna spat. "At least I know how to feel something. You're just a robot in designer suits, building your perfect little empire." "No," I said calmly. "I'm a survivor. And while you were playing games with fake emails and forged documents, I was building something real, something lasting." "Ma'am," one guard touched Joanna's elbow. "You need to come with us." She jerked away. "You think you've won? This isn't over. I'll tell everyone what you did, how you lied." "Tell them what?" I stepped closer. "That you committed corporate espionage? That you seduced your sister's husband? That you forged documents and pretended to be our dead mother? Go ahead. The truth only hurts one of us. The guards took her arms, more firmly this time. I used to want a sister, I said, as they led her toward the elevator. Now, I'm glad I had a rival. It made me stronger. The doors closed on her scream of rage. Silence hung heavy until Dominic cleared his throat. Well, that was better than cable, someone muttered, breaking the tension. Paige appeared at my side with a fresh glass of champagne. You okay? Actually, yes. I took the glass. For the first time in years, I feel free. To freedom, Nicholas raised his glass. To freedom, the room echoed. Later, as the party wound down, I stood at the railing looking over the city. Dominic joined me. Your sister will probably face charges, he said. I know. And Rick? Already agreed to testify against Barrett in exchange for leniency. He nodded. You know, most people would have crumbled under all this. Most people didn't grow up learning to turn chaos into opportunity. To opportunity, then. He raised his glass one final time. Below us, the city lights burned like stars, each one a reminder that sometimes the brightest futures are born from the darkest betrayals. The autumn wind whipped around me as I stood in front of the small granite headstone. I'd never brought flowers here before, but today I carried a single champagne cork, the one from my promotion celebration. Executive Vice President, I said to the silent stone. Bet you never saw that coming, Mom. Behind me, fallen leaves skittered across the cemetery path. The sound reminded me of shuffling papers, of evidence scattered across desks, of lives unraveling. My phone buzzed. A text from Paige. Joanna's sentencing is at 2 p.m. You coming? No, I typed back. Some chapters need to end quietly. The reply came quickly. Rick took the plea deal. 5 years probation, community service. I slipped the phone back into my pocket without responding. Let him serve his time. Rebuild his life. His choices weren't my burden anymore. The morning paper had carried the final story about Barrett Industries restructuring. Their new CEO had reached out yesterday, suggesting a legitimate partnership. Your security protocols impressed us, she'd said, even if we learned about them the hard way. I placed the champagne cork at the base of the headstone. You taught me something important, Mom. About running away. About facing consequences. A twig snapped behind me. I turned to find Nicholas, looking uncomfortable in a suit. Sorry, he said. Paige told me I might find you here. The board meeting. Starts in an hour, I know. He shuffled his feet. We found something in the old server logs. About your mother. My chest tightened. What? She tried to contact you. Before she, there were emails. Never sent. Saved as drafts. Show me. He pulled out his tablet, pulled up the archived messages. My mother's words glowed on the screen. Callie, my strong girl. I'm sorry for leaving you to carry everything. Sorry for Joanna's chaos, for my weakness. You deserved better than a mother who couldn't face her own reflection. The timestamp showed 3 hours before her death. There's more, Nicholas said softly. I shook my head, handed back the tablet. Some answers don't help the questions. He nodded, understanding. The car's waiting. Dominic wants to review the presentation before the board meeting. 1 minute. After he walked away, I touched the cold granite. I didn't survive Joanna, Mom. I outgrew her, just like I outgrew the need for your approval. The wind picked up, carrying the champagne cork away. I let it go. Back at the office, Paige met me with coffee and a stack of papers. Joanna sent this. Her lawyer said she insisted. Inside the envelope was a single photograph. Mom, Joanna, and me at the beach, years ago. Before the lies, before the betrayals. On the back, Joanna had written, "We were happy once, weren't we?" "Shred it," I told Paige. "You sure?" The past is a terrible compass. It only points where you've been, never where you're going. She smiled. That should go on a motivational poster. Speaking of going places, I handed her an envelope. The board approved your promotion. Junior executive assistant. Her eyes widened. But you earned it. Loyalty should be rewarded, not exploited. Nicholas poked his head in. They're ready for you. I straightened my jacket, checked my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked stronger than she had a month ago, less afraid of shadows. Callie? Paige called as I reached the door. What you said about the past, does that mean you're done looking back? No, I smiled. It means I'm done letting it define me. The boardroom doors open to familiar faces, new opportunities, and the kind of future you build when you stop running from old ghosts. Some people spend their lives waiting for karma to balance the scales. But I've learned that karma doesn't wear a watch, and justice rarely arrives on schedule. Sometimes you have to be your own cosmic balance, your own redemption story. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better. I took my seat at the table, opened my presentation, and began to write the next chapter. This time, on my own terms.